Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my dear friends, brothers, sisters, viewers. Thank you for joining me for the fourth part of the program. Apologies, I thought we were going to finish at 7:30, but obviously no, it was my fault. We were going to go on because obviously this discussion that I'm having with Allison is really pertinent at this moment in time. And when Chaudhry Sahab phoned in from Manchester, Chaudhry Ashraf Sahab phoned in from Manchester, he raised some really interesting points about how do we weed out people in our institutions who are openly racist or subliminally racist as well. And how do we recruit more people into our service? And as Allison says, I know for a fact that when she joined, and that she actually made an additional effort to try and get more and more people from the black and ethnic minority community to join the police service. So well done to that, and may you have more strength with that. Now, obviously, the other question is, I mean, years ago I did a research study on the West Yorkshire Police in the days of Sir Ronald Gregory, who was the czar, the drug czar, as he was known at that time. And it came out that there was some, and not just racism. My research started on racism and then moved on to sexism as well.
Yes.
Because I insisted at that time to the Chief Constable that we need to do both in parallel. Because when I started to look at race, it emerged that sexism was also one of the problems.
Absolutely.
Now, I won't go into details, but some of these issues are still confronting us at the moment. As I said,
they are,
with Greater Manchester Police, we saw the secret policeman, we saw some other issues coming out. 2 weeks ago, there was an issue about how they treat women and girls. So some of these factors still have a profound effect in these institutions and the people who suffer at the other end. So in terms of recruitment, you took the decision to take some positive action, which helped you increase the number of people applying for jobs, as I say, 18%. Now, is that still going to continue?
So the positive action will definitely continue.
Right.
The rate that we're able to recruit new police officers, unfortunately, will slow down massively because obviously the money from government is not there. But we will be replacing those officers who retire,
right.
because we've promised that we will retain the uplift numbers, and the government.
Because you had quite a bit of success in the uplift, wasn't it?
Yeah.
When we say uplift, you mean the additional police officer that you could recruit?
Yeah, so the government asked us originally, the Home Office asked us to recruit 852.
Right.
Then because the Met couldn't recruit, and that's a lot about the confidence gap in London, of course, because they couldn't recruit, all those officers that they didn't recruit, bearing in mind the government wanted to recruit 20,000, we were asked to bid for, so we ended up with another 100 on top of that.
Right.
So, not far off 1,000 new officers here in West Yorkshire, but we've got to retain them to keep getting the money from government to pay for them. The problem is that in West Yorkshire, in every force, the efficiencies, the cuts that were in the last budget will be retained by this government because they've said only the NHS and a few other services, aid, for example, are going to be preserved. So we've now got £18 million worth of cuts for next year.
Wow.
26 million the year after that, and 42.5 million the year after that.
My goodness.
So, over 80 million.
So this is going to have an impact on frontline policing, I presume, eventually.
So obviously we won't end up with £80 million worth of cuts because we've been doing lots and lots of work on the medium-term financial forecast. We're making efficiencies. We've got a programme called Priority-Based Budgeting, which is looking at how we can innovate and do things differently.
We've got another phone call.
Yeah, and so it won't be as problematic as make it out, but it will be problematic.
Assalamu alaikum. We've got another phone call. Can you give me your name and where you're calling from, please?
Yeah, Chaudhry Ashraf from Manchester again.
Chaudhry Sahab, yes. Okay.
Thank you. See you both again. Yeah.
Good.
I want to make only a little point for our community because we need to, in all of our country, Yorkshire, Manchester, Birmingham, London. I need to, like Allison, she can organize people to bring more people in policing or in good post. Then we have the say, we have a stake for our community.
Yes.
We did let down our community. I think especially our parents not teach our children to go on a big post. They just go, when they're educated or come home, and that's our lack of, no give them a proper education.
Chaudhry Ashraf, can I ask you a question? Obviously, you say you live in Manchester. What do you feel? How do you feel about what's happened in Manchester and the police? What you witnessed happening at the airport?
Why I feel it's lack of our leadership. We should we develop this country. And like Allison, I know I read a history because I'm a history man, and my most of the family, like Abdul Khan is my cousin, and most of our community is our fault. Bring our little children to a main line.
So they don't encourage people to go into the police service.
Yeah, but that's what we did wrong.
Right.
Because we know racism is there for us from 1980s, 70s. When I grew up, it was a very racist area. And when I used to get beat and I used to cry home, but I still stand on my feet. And police no going to help you or anything.
Right.
You need what they say. If child doesn't cry, a mother never give him a milk.
Right.
The baby. We need to cry. We need to put down. We need to wake up our community. Allison, you know what I'm talking about. We need to go on the line where we need to get respect. It's only Allison can do it. Every individual person who grew up here, who did a lot for this country, we need a respect. There is the time now to get respect in this country as if we are British. It's not like we are ethnic and we look like a different color. They don't give us respect. The incident happened in the airport. I think maybe the Pakistani guy's fault. I will not blame to the police officer because he's done a good education to become a police officer. I don't want him to go home from a job, but I want his test as like you have a nowadays machine is a racist or not. My point is to Allison. Whenever if we have a voice everywhere in the world. Everywhere in the Britain, like in the policing, they should have a new test for if somebody is racist, don't give them the job.
Well, actually, that was something I was talking to Allison about. How do you weed out racist and sexist people who apply for jobs?
Then you need to have the machine. You have a machine. You have a technology nowadays.
Are you talking about lie detector? Lie detector test.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously,
we test done, sir. Then give them the job. If somebody capable for the job, don't give them job.
So these are.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. I don't think.
Inshallah, my Allison, I believe in. I love people who are on a good post.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I want my children to grow up and sleep well and feel free in this country.
Good.
My grandchildren now, not my children, my very, very grandchildren. I want freedom in a life.
Excellent.
Back home, we never had them freedom.
And that's, I think,
we're still lucky to live in like a paradise. But we need to make more for us.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your contribution.
Yeah,
Obviously,
brilliant points there. We are part of the solution as black and brown people, but the police, obviously, if you go into the police, you don't say, I'm a racist, give me a job. People are very good at pretending to be the perfect candidate, and we all do it when we go for an interview. We don't say, I'll tell them about this bad thing. No, you don't tell them that bad thing. You hide it. The police have got a lot of tests. They've got psychometric testing. The process to become a police officer is very, very long-winded and complex, as you know. There's loads of stages. EDI is embedded in those stages, but a good liar is a good liar, and people will not tell you that they are a racist or a sexist or a homophobe or whatever it is. You've got to have lots of different ways to test that out and stress test it. But you also need colleagues who will, tell their superiors if they hearing racist comments or seeing behaviours that are not in line with the values of the police. And here in West Yorkshire, you are disciplined if you betray any of those inappropriate behaviours, but you're also disciplined if you witness somebody else displaying those behaviours and you don't report it.
Oh wow, that's a step forward.
Absolutely. Exactly
that's a real
the
step
same.
forward.
So we get a list of all the people involved in disciplinaries every 3 months, the Mayor and I, and there are lots of people on there who are allegedly guilty of some terrible things, but there are also people there who witnessed some of those alleged events and did not report, and they are being disciplined in exactly.
So you've got one of these whistleblowing lines where people can report.
Yeah, well, people report things to the line managers all the time, but we have got a whistleblowing hotline. To me, actually,
Right.
you can whistleblow to me in my office, and it's a protected disclosure, so your name will never be shared unless you want it to be, and you cannot have a detriment if you make a whistleblowing complaint under that process. But I have to say that there are lots of different ways that we rely on to find out who the problem people are, and complaints from
And
the public
if
are number one, the
I was
most
just gonna ask,
important thing.
if the public feel
Complaints
like
from
that,
the public.
yeah,
If the public don't tell us what's happening, then how can we know?
yeah.
So if you think you've got an officer who is not treating you with respect, or is an out-and-out racist, or somewhere on that spectrum,
Or sexist.
report
yeah.
it, exactly, or homophobic, or whatever
Yeah,
it is, because they have body-worn video here in West Yorkshire. When we do checks, 97% of people have got it on. It's potential disciplinary if you don't have your body-worn video on. You have to have it on here in West Yorkshire.
Right.
A very, very high level of compliance with body-worn video. So if you make a complaint, that video will be watched by a
Right.
senior officer, and action can be taken. Every stop and search of a black person in West Yorkshire is viewed by a
Actually,
senior manager.
you just
Every
reminded
stop and search.
You just reminded me, I was talking to a very good friend of mine who's a businessman in Wakefield. He's got a very good takeaway. Very frequently sort of visited by police officers. I was there the night before, and he was telling me, he says, well, every night, without fail, virtually every night, when I leave my takeaway, I'm followed. And on 3 occasions, he's been stopped.
Yeah.
He's a person of colour. So they know me, but they still stop me, and they harass me unnecessarily.
No, that's not
Right.
acceptable. And he needs to come to my office and report that,
Right.
and then we can put him through the, introduce him to the process that West Yorkshire Police have, because we don't investigate crimes, West Yorkshire Police investigate, but they will investigate
Right.
those allegations. If he believes that he's being followed by people because of the colour of his skin, that's not right. So tell him
So they
to
come and buy
contact
food.
my office.
So they come and buy food from me. They all know me.
Yeah.
So last time was they followed him, got to a traffic light. Traffic light was red. He was questioned. This is why what he was doing, and then he was told to move to the side. So when it turned amber, he moved. So he was then accused of moving through a red traffic light. So this is the type of harassment he says he was feeling. I will pass your message on.
Yeah, pass
I
on
will
my
pass
number. You've got my number,
Yeah,
and then
I'll pass your message
we'll
on.
engage him with the system of complaints.
Right, I will tell him that. So, Chaudhry Sahab, I hope that is proof that Allison, particularly in West Yorkshire, is doing some proactive work to challenge these people within the system who behave inappropriately, either racist, sexist, homophobic, etc. And I'm sure she'll be encouraging all her other PCC colleagues to try and follow that model as well. But I think the important point is that if we can try and get more and more people of colour into the service, then hopefully we'll start to see some other changes taking place. I remember when I joined one of the public sector organisations, the number of people you could have, it was 18,500 workforce. The number of people of colour you could count on one hand, so you still have spare fingers, and then obviously slowly the things change in that organisation. And you're right, Chaudhry Sahab, that we need to get more people. Now I know that people who first come into the system may suffer, unfortunately.
Yeah. As our dads did.
Oh yeah, I did as well. Like you, Chaudhry Sahab, I came into this country in the 60s, and I went to school. We used to hate Fridays when we used to finish school, because we were beaten up every Friday. And then the school learned their lesson. But police actually didn't help us in those days. And the schools let us out 50 minutes early so we could run as fast as we could to get home before the other children were let out. But those are very valid sort of points that you make, and many of us have suffered those incidents as well. Coming back, Allison, obviously there's huge challenges. Budget is one of the biggest challenges that you
absolutely.
face. Now, moving forward, £18 million saving, leading to up to £42 million in 3 years' time.
Yeah.
How are you going to manage that? I mean, that's a huge task. In your position as the PCC, that is a massive task to go through.
Yeah, so there's a lot of work happening now to look at different ways of delivering the service. So we're relying really heavily now on technology, on digital, looking at, for example, when you, as a police officer, want to charge somebody, the whole file has got to, you've got to delete any names, any addresses, anything that's an identifier. You've got to delete that from the file. There's now software, AI software, that will do that for you. It's literally hundreds of thousands of staff hours that could be saved nationally, not just in West Yorkshire. And so we're looking at all these innovations. There's software that's looking at a range of different policing activities to see whether or not it can speed things up. So there's decision-making tools about whether cases have got enough evidence to go forward. Obviously, they're being tested at the moment because we don't want mistakes to be made, but there are a whole range of innovations that are being tested because in the end, that's going to be what we need as a county to make those efficiencies. But the reality is that police staff, not police officers, police staff is where some efficiencies are going to be made. So you will have more police officers.
So frontline policing will not be affected as badly.
Well, it will be because those frontline police
badly,
officers will be sitting at call centres answering the telephones because the staff have had to be made redundant.
All right.
Because the staff money is not protected like the police officer money is protected. And so you're going to see less frontline policing, not more frontline policing as the years go by.
Already there's huge complaints about we don't see police officers in our neighbourhood. This is going to get even worse.
If we don't find another way, yes, absolutely. And we're raising this with the Home Office. I raised it with Yvette Cooper the day of her election. So,
she's one of your neighbours.
Yeah, she is. And she's obviously a West Yorkshire MP. But obviously they've adopted the spending plans of the last government and they're trying to balance a budget with a £22 billion black hole, as we've been told today. So this is not a quick fix.
Oh no, it isn't. I understand that. And obviously, anybody out there who thinks, now the Labour government's come in, things are going to change overnight, needs to start wake up and smell the coffee, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's not going to happen. We know that. And I think people who work in the public sector realise that that is going to be a long-term thing over the next, 5-10 years maybe. But yeah, I mean, that is something really, to be mindful of, that we will see subtle changes taking place in the policing service, not the way people would expect it to happen, but it's going to happen sort of subtly. Now, obviously, we've got 2.5 minutes left. One of the things we touched upon earlier is reporting incidents.
Yeah.
Now, we know for a fact that a lot of information is based on the data that has been collected. Now, as Mohammed mentioned earlier from the Lake District, a lot of people of colour don't report it because they feel that they won't get any justice out of it. Are you doing anything in particular, or anything in any initiative to try and sort of drum up more and more reporting of hate crimes and hate incidents?
So the police have got a very extensive engagement strategy in all the communities that they serve to try to get more people to report. And you're absolutely right. Since last October, when obviously the events in Gaza and Israel occurred, Islamophobia complaints have only gone up by 6 recorded complaints, which we know it can't be true. Because I meet a variety of organisations and Telmama, for example, and they talk about Islamophobia going up, 50, 100%,
600% at the moment.
So it's massive.
And anti-Semitism.
Yeah. So anti-Semitism, that's gone up 263%.
Right.
But you're talking an extra 29 people because there's so few Jewish people here in Bradford, because these are Bradford figures.
Right.
We've gone from 123 Islamophobic complaints to 129 since last June.
Right.
So we know people are not complaining, they're not reporting, and they need to do so because the resources won't. When you've got all these cuts, you're going to put the resources where the need is. So if you don't report it, the need won't. The resources won't be there. So we need to do it. The police are doing a lot of work. I come on here to talk about it to help people to understand why it's important.
Okay. Thank you very much, Allison. Thank you for your time. I know we've extended it. You were going to go and see your daughter. You were hoping to go get away a little early, but we locked the doors after she came in. So no, thank you very much. I hope you found what Allison had to share with us of interest, and I'm really grateful to Roger Ashraf from Manchester and Mohammed for calling and sharing their thoughts. I think I'd like to leave you with one very important point, and that is what Allison just mentioned now. We are really bad at reporting incidents and crimes to the police because sometimes we feel they're not going to be doing anything. Even if they can't, because it's beyond their control, because the level of evidence required is quite substantial, the fact that you reported will be recorded, and that can play a very important role to help Allison do what she needs to do. So please report it. Thank you very much for watching, and inshallah I'll see you next week. Take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Once again, Allison, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.